Hi, I'm Rhea Bronzola and I will be the one to report about the Philippine Constitution. So, what is Constitution? So, Constitution is the fundamental law of the land which establish the character and basic principles of the government. The basic political principles on which a state is governed, making clear the rights of the individual and limiting powers of the government. A constitution is a system for government codified as a written document which contains fundamental laws and principles. Which usually contains fundamental political principles and establish the structure, procedure, power, and duties of the government. So, kapag sinabi natin konstitusyon, ito ay isang pangunahing batas ng lupain o lipunan na nagtatag ng katangian na mga pangunahing prinsipyo ng ating pamahalaan, na kung saan nililinaw ang mga karapatang pang-individual na naglilimita sa kapangyarihan ng ating pamahalaan. So, natay rights or natay katungod na anang mubabag or mo suggest or unsa pa natong kaning rights nga pwede nato mabuhat sa ato ang community or sa atong society. And ang konstitusyon ay isang sistema para sa pamahalaan na bilang isang nakasulat na dokumento na naglalaman ng mga pangunahing batas at prinsipyo. So, ginatakil niya ang kaning about sa mga rights dito sa individual as a human being nga nagpuyoan ng society. So, next is, what is the fundamental objective of the Constitution? So, as stated in its preamble, the Constitution seeks to build a just and humane society under a government that will promote the general welfare and preserve our independence and democracy. So, ang salikang batas ay naglalayong bumuo ng isang makatarungan at makataong lipunan sa ilalim ng isang pamahalaan na nagtataguyod ng pangkalahatang kapakanan at mapapangalagaan ang ating kalayaan at demokrasya. So, kung asa ilahang ipangitaan og way para matarong og kaning makatarungan or makatao nga kaning mga kalihukan sa ato ang society. And from the Greek words demos meaning people and kratos meaning power. So democracy can be thought of as power of the people or a way of governing which depends on the will of the people. So moto ko yung ganina nga naatay kaning rights as an individual nga kung unsa man ang atong matabang or unsa atong mabuhat ani sa ato ang lipunan. And next is the 4 constitutions of the Philippines. First is the Malolos Constitution. Malolos Constitution will be following the Declaration of Independence from Spain on 1898 by the revolutionary government. A congress was held in Malolos, Bulacan in 1999 to draw a constitution. So, gitawag siya nga Malolos Constitution is because dito siya nahitabo. And it was the first republican constitution in Asia. So, mao ni siya ang pinakauna di ay nga constitution. The document states that the people have exclusive sovereignty. So, ato ang rights na pag-vote sa mga leaders sa ato ang lipunan. And It is basic civil rights separated from the church and state. So, dili na sila pwede nga mag uban. So, naay lahi mga leaders or naay mga lahi nga nagpamahala ang church and sa state pod is lahi. And called for the creation of an assembly representatives which would act as the legislative body. So it also calls for a president form of government with the president elected for 4 years by a majority of the assembly. So una is a 4-year lang siya, but now is nahulog na siya nga 6 years maglingkod ang president, unlike before. And it was written by Felipe Calderon and Felipe Buencamino. So, El Heraldo de la Revolucion, the official newspaper of the Malolos Republic. And on September 15, 1898, the Malolos Congress governed in Parasao in church, and Pedro Paterno was elected as its president. And on January 21, 1899, the Malolos Constitution, drafted by a committee headed by Felipe Calderon, was proclaimed, transforming the government into what is known today and as the President and as the First Philippine Republic. And on January 23, 1899, inauguration of the First Philippine Republic, popularly known as the Malolos Republic, amidst colorful ceremonies at the Barasao in Church, Bulacan, Malolos, Bulacan, with Aguinaldo as its president. So we have 3 acts of United States Congress. The Philippines under the jurisdiction of the federal government of the United States during this period on December 10, 1988 to March 24, 1934. So, 3 Tidings McDuffie Act. So, in 1934, the Tidings McDuffie Act, or essentially the Hair House Cutting Act, as modified by Manuel L. Quezon, was passed by the U.S. Congress, signed by President Franklin Roosevelt. Okay, so the bill mandated a 10-year transition period. Of independence in 1944. So the first step would be to establish Commonwealth of Philippines in 1935. So the Commonwealth would have its own constitution and would be self-governing, although foreign policy would be the responsibility of the U.S. laws passed by the Philippine legislature affecting immigration, foreign trade, and the currency system had to be approved by the American president. The United States would retain only a single revolve-based of fueling station. The Philippines would soon become a Commonwealth partner of the United States. So kanang kinahanglan nila og kaning pagkakaisa kanang tinabangay na sila. And the first is the Philippine Bill of 1902, which is the Copper Act. It provided the creation of a popularly elected Philippine Assembly and specified that the legislative power would be vested in a bicameral legislature composed of the President, Commission, upper house, and the Philippine Assembly, which is the lower house. So its K provision included a Bill of Rights for the Filipinos and appointment of two non-voting Filipino resident commissioners to present the Philippines in the United States Congress. So the United States Congressman Henry Allen Cooper sponsored the Philippines Bill of 1902. So the bill proposed the certain and the creation and administration of a civil government in the Philippines. So President Franklin Roosevelt signed it into law in July 2, 1902. So, the next constitution is the 1935 Constitution, a Commonwealth government. So, the original 1935 Constitution provided for unicameral National Assembly, and the President was elected to 6-year term without pre-election. So nagpadayon na siya. And it was amended in 1940 to have a bicameral Congress composed of a Senate and House of Representatives, as well as the creation of an independent electoral commission. The Constitution granted the President for a 4-year term with a maximum of 2 consecutive terms in the office. So nahulog na siya nga moto siya nga nag 6-year term without re-election. And a constitutional convention was held in 1971 to rewrite the 1935 Constitution. Claro M. Recto unanimously elected as the chairman of the 1934 Constitutional Convention. So next is the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916 by John's Law. It modified the structure of the Philippine government by removing the Philippine Commission as the legislative upper house, replacing it with a Senate elected by Filipino voters. So this act also explicitly stated that it was and had always been the purpose of the people, the United States, to withdraw their sovereignty over the Philippine Islands and to recognize Philippine independence as soon as stable government can be established therein. So next is the 1943 Constitution, which is the Second Republic. Draft by a committee appointed by the Philippine Executive Commission, the body established by the Japanese to administer and Philippines in lieu and of the Commonwealth of the Philippines, which had established a government in exile. So, Kalibapi or kapisanan ng paglilingkod ng bagong Pilipinas was also organized, designed to be the sole of exclusive political organization in the Philippines. The legislature consisted of a unicameral National Assembly and only those considered as anti-US could stand for election. Although in practice, most legislators were appointed rather than elected. So katulang mga dili mo supak na mga mamamayan sa US were allowed to vote. So, number 1 is the 1976 amendments and interim Batasang Pambansa or IBP, substituting for the interim National Assembly. The President would also become the Prime Minister, and he would continue to exercise legislative powers until such time as martial law was lifted. So in the 1980 amendment, the retirement age of the members of the judiciary was extended to 70 years. Number 3 is in the 1981 amendments, the parliamentary system was modified by executive power was restored to the president and direct elections of the president was restored. So the last one of the Constitution is the 1973 Constitution, a new society. So chairman of the 1971 CONCON, former President Carlos P. Garcia and Diosdado Macapagal. It was promulgated after Marcos' declaration of martial law, wherein the Proclamation Decree 1081 on September 21, 1972 introduced to a parliamentary style of government. So legislative power was vested in the National Assembly, whose members were elected for 6 years term. But the president was elected as the symbolic head of the state from the members of the National Assembly for a 6 years term and could be re-elected to an unlimited number of terms. Upon elections, the president caused case to be member of the National Assembly. So, that's all. Thank you.